Hey, welcome along to Navigating the Shift. Annabella and Sarah here. And we're catching up on the news again. Sarah, you had some interesting info. You were reading the book about Epstein.
I am. So the book's called Filthy Rich. The author is James Patterson. And the Netflix video is based on this book. During the book, in the video, they kind of tweak it a little bit one way, and more than, but the book goes straight down. James Patterson is a really well-respected author. So I've been reading it, and I found out some things about good old Jeffrey that I didn't know about. And since we have Ghislaine Maxwell in the news, having been arrested, all of this stuff is going to come out. So they start talking about him when he was in high school. Evidently, he was a math whiz. He graduated really early, like at age 16, and was after that was taking college level advanced math classes. He also evidently was really good on the piano. The first thing that came to me is like, this guy's kind of an idiot savant, because people talk about him as just being, he was just a nice guy. He was okay. He was really good at math. He helped tutor me. That was great. I was like, I got a whole year of geometry in 1 month of tutoring. So he did make money tutoring while he was in college. He didn't finish college, but evidently he was so successful with his tutoring that he got that job teaching at the university. I'm not so sure about that one. They didn't go into it that much. Later on, one of his skills is getting himself in with people, and evidently can be really charming. He's what I call a jack, and jacks are people they're charming, but they really don't have any morals, and they seem like really nice guys. They can be very narcissistic. In the Disney cards, the jack, they say he can either be the spiritual initiate or the thief, that energy. And every one of us has known one of those kinds of guys. Mm-hmm. So he saw somebody wearing her friend had a jacket that said Concorde, like the Concorde airplane. Mm-hmm. And he said, hey, could I borrow that for a couple of days? And the friend said, yeah, I guess so. Well, he never got it back because he liked to look like he flew on the Concorde all the time. So, little things like that, those little slimy things. Mm-hmm. But his first job in finance was sort of got into him because he made friends with the daughter of somebody who worked at Bear Stearns and sort of got him in there. And he got going by helping people avoid taxes. He made friends with a woman named Anna Obergone, and she was wealthy. Her dad evidently got into some trouble. He had a lot of beautiful women around him. He charmed. We all knew that. Her dad got involved in some kind of a scam and lost a lot of money. And she asked him, can you help me get my dad's money back? And it took him a long time, but he found an offshore account, and he ended up getting a whole lot of money back. And nobody knows how much she paid him for that, but he figured out this way of doing it where he would say to people, look, you're making a ton of money, and we're talking like late 80s. Tax rate for really wealthy people was like almost 50%. So he would say, you're paying billions in taxes, let's say, or at least millions, hundreds of millions. He says, take this $50 million, put it in an escrow account for me. And if I don't save you $700 million in taxes, you don't have to pay me.
Right.
But he figured out how to do it. That's a perfect jack thing. He knows numbers, and he knows how to work the system, and he's very comfortable with being less than in integrity. He's that kind of a guy. Mm-hmm. But going on further, they interview the young ladies, and the ladies tell their story. I had been seeing him as this, big evil guy, and he's really kind of not. He started off as a pudgy little kid, and a Jew living in a community that had been Italian. The Italians didn't like the Jews moving into their neighborhood, and they got in a lot of trouble. So he has this little victim mentality going there too, which all jacks do. Another gal who was a model got involved with him, and that sort of introduced him to the world of modeling, where he met Les Wexner and
right, through Victoria's Secret.
Yeah, Victoria's Secret and all that stuff, and that kind of got him going there. He met Ghislaine Maxwell evidently around 1991. So keep in mind, her father, Robert Maxwell, was not born Robert Maxwell. He's an Orthodox Jewish family, and he moved to the UK and was involved in the war and stuff like that. So he was supposedly a media mogul, but he was really a Mossad spy. Mm. And he died, of course, in mysterious circumstances. He fell off his boat, but he was already being investigated and getting in trouble. And after that, they found out that he had taken hundreds of millions of dollars from his employees' funds to fund his own enterprises. And his sons both actually were prosecuted for that because they were involved in the business. So at that point, Ghislaine is like, I don't want to be in Europe anymore. It's uncomfortable here.
Yeah.
That's when she ended up going to New York. So she had all these connections with the hotty-totty, the high-end people. And there's a joke that said, she's the one who taught him what's the salad fork and what's the dinner fork.
Right.
And so she brought him into that world.
Great match.
Right? So the stories the girls say is really sad. He's like this little pitiful guy, and he comes in, he's like, well, do this, can you take that off? And they're like, no, I won't do that, he's like, okay, can you just do this
softly then?
Yeah. And he would always back off, pay the girls. Who is so pitiful that every single day they pay 3 people to come in and massage them, right? And it's all the same story. They don't call her Ghislaine in the book, but she comes in, she or other people, brings them in, do a massage, and it just moves and it stretches a little more. No, I won't go there. It's okay, we won't go there. But then he tries, he pushes, like, I told you can't penetrate me. Oh, I forgot. I thought we did that last time. It's just,
yeah. So it's
not little man
where you can go, oh, he's a baddie, he attacked me. It's not attacking. It's grooming, isn't it?
It's manipulation and grooming. And one thing that this book goes into that I believe wasn't in the movie, I haven't watched it, is this scene where they describe that at one point, a man who worked for Trump at Mar-a-Lago, his daughter also worked there. And that she'd been brought by, I think, Ghislaine, and taken to Epstein, and he tried to get her to do stuff, and she was like, no, she was 15, 14, maybe she was younger, I can't remember. And she told her dad, and the dad told Trump. And in the book it says, and Mr. Trump, he got ahead of the game. He said in no uncertain terms, he told Epstein, you are not welcome here anymore.
And what year was that?
I believe it's early 90s.
Wow, really early.
Yeah.
That's all you ever hear is, every time there's something about Epstein in the media, they keep bringing up all these old photos of both of them looking really young. And they say, oh, close friends. I'm like, well, where's the photos after that then, if they're close friends? Yeah. If they haven't been seen together since.
They said that Trump was friends with Ghislaine, and that because of her, this is the book, I don't know if this is true, of course, any of it, that he allowed Epstein to come into Mar-a-Lago even though he didn't have a membership. It's $100,000 to join and $13,000 a year or something in monthly fees. So you've got to be rich. And also the other thing about Epstein is that he'd get a bunch of money, but he just would spend it. And he liked to look like a good guy, so he'd get a bunch of somehow he'd get airline upgrades for people and just give them away, or tickets to things, and he'd throw these lavish parties. So his finances went like this.
Oh, okay, right.
His car was repossessed. Yeah. I haven't finished the book, but the bottom line is he isn't one of the big players. I don't think he was. That.
But having him brought out in the public is the entree. What we would call entree, right? The appetizer. He's not the kingpin, but he's an important part to it, particularly if he's earned most of his money collecting blackmail files on all the people that he drew into his mansion and his island and his Zorro Ranch or whatever to do whatever, ever they want to do, and then film it all, and then he's got them in his pocket. That's still important for people to know, because as soon as they hear that, then they'll go, oh, so who did he blackmail? And then you start leading it into who the others are.
Right. So I follow Regina Giuffre on Twitter, and she's been writing that ever since Ghislaine Maxwell was arrested. She's saying she was worse than him. She was way more into it. She was the one doing it. She says she's got copies of all the videos. she's got everything. Now,
why did they not arrest her? This is the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what was she doing this last year? Did they actually come to her? Did they have the evidence against her and say, even this one count is going to send you to jail for the rest of your life? She's a socialite. She's not going to, no way. She's not going to go for that. So she's like, okay, I'll turn everything over. So how possible is it this last year? Either she was already in agreement and doing it voluntarily, or involuntarily, she was allowed to go around and meet up with people and say, oh, I got this, what are we going to do?
Incriminate.
We got to get together and gathering all the data, whether, even if they just tracked her phone. They know everybody she talked to, they know everywhere she went.
Yeah. I think having Epstein knocked off so quickly as well is going to be the threats to her. She doesn't want to die. And that they can easily just say, well, how about we put you in a jail cell and all the cameras get turned off, oh, well, unless you help her. It should be very easy, I think, to threaten her with that kind of stuff. She doesn't want to die and doesn't want to end up in isolation either.
One of the reasons I wonder if maybe she was cooperating earlier is the story that came out about how she was arrested, and also the fact that there's no photos of her.
Yeah, what's that about?
Yeah. So she's living supposedly, in this isolation in this house with all this acreage around her, and they rush in and they find her sitting calmly, fully dressed at 4:30 in the morning on the living room couch.
So she knew that now's the time. Nobody filmed her.
Nobody's seen her.
Yeah.
I imagine she's pretty vain. I think that's been reported as well. So imagine she's like, I will cooperate and I'll give you all these people's names and all the video evidence and everything. She says, I don't want the perp walk. Protect me. I don't know if they'll give her a new ID, whatever they're going to do. But I could imagine her doing that. You're just saying.
I don't think she'd be set free, though. You just can't trust her.
No. Yeah,
No.
I don't think that's going to happen. But I don't think we're not going to see that with her. I don't think we're going to see a lot of perp walks, because the country, the world, the country is like torn apart already.
Yeah,
it's so polarized, and this recent eclipse has got everybody's old stuff up, and people are enraged on Twitter. Everybody's going, "Is anybody else mad? Is anybody else mad?" And I came across a bunch of it that I had to release last night. Woo! So
everybody duck for cover. Sarah is raging.
I'm done raging now.
Okay, thank God.
Yeah, but what I suggest to people, like a lot of people are afraid of anger, either because of history in their life. Anger has been dangerous for people, but also a lot of people have this sort of law of attraction thing going out, that I don't want to put all those negative emotions out. I'm supposed to stay in the positive emotions. So you can use one of my tools if you'd like. It's called a spiritually incorrect room. And you don't go in there and be spiritually correct, obviously. It's like, oh, Dad, I do understand that you were molested as a child, and so that's why you did that to me. It's not like, no, it's all sealed up. I always imagine it as like a holodeck on Star Trek. And you take whoever, let's say you're mad at, it isn't always anger, but we'll go with anger as an example. And you tell them, if it's somebody who abused your child, bring your little child in there and say, you'll never touch her again. You get to swear, you can bring out weapons, you can do whatever you want. It's not, I didn't like, you need to never do that again.
Yeah,
it's, really hold the energy. And the other thing with anger is to move your body. I've worked with so many people who are like, I don't want to do anger. Okay. Like, just get up and stomp around the room a little.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. And by the end of the session, it was like, pounding on things like, God, I've never felt so good in my life. Oh my God,
Yeah.
So move, vocalize, say it out loud when you go to the spiritually incorrect room. Because when we hold still and go, I'm so pissed, where does it go? Right back in to depression.
Poisons the body and the mind, doesn't it?
Yeah. When you're done, and usually when people have expressed a bunch of emotion, often it's anger, but there's also a lot of powerlessness in there. They end up giggling. It's just so freeing. And at that point, like the computer that controls a holodeck, you can just say, computer, delete this from my reality. And you can do that safely because you're not actually like bringing their souls in there. What you're bringing is your perception of this person as the oppressor. Mm-hmm. So that's what you're deleting from your reality. It's a lot of fun. And it doesn't just have to be an individual person. It can be institutions, banking institutions, or medical institutions, just whoever it is. And bring the symbol in. You can bring in a dragon, whatever you want. So it's a really, really good tool, and with everything coming up.
Have you got a link that you can put on below too?
Sure.
Yeah. The spiritually correct room. Very good. Certainly a lot better than burning down buildings. And like we were talking about last time with the Sunshine Movement, they getting it out on the street and making things violent, just harming other people. That's just not acceptable.
Right.
And the karma that brings back on you is not what you want right now. Not what you want.
So I was talking to my sister recently, who's very much in the program, and some things that happened in her life that upset her, a death and some other losses. And I was, being there to be emotional support and all that. And there was a moment when she was like, "Oh, it's just so hard these days. The world is so crazy." And I felt that she released the emotions. She was ready to get to the next step, and was in a sort of an open, vulnerable place. And I said, well, I still believe 100%, as I always have, that we're going through this process, this apparent breakdown and polarization, as a step toward bringing in the new earth. It's taking us somewhere really good, because she had said, "I'm really worried about the future." And I'm like, no, I really feel that this is here, and it's going to look bad for a while. And yes, it's hugely polarizing. And what's the best thing we can do about it is to not get caught into it. Is to go, okay, oh, well, it's all play. Here's the world. They're having fun. They're yelling at each other. It's like, isn't that interesting? And she went, and I just thought a little bit of something got in there that relieved her fear. And it gave me hope.
Yeah, everybody, well, not everybody, but so many people are feeling that at the moment, whether they're tied in with the news media that, of course, just dribble with glee at the idea of making you scared about anything they possibly can. I mean, okay, COVID numbers are dropping. So, we've discovered the Black Plague in China. I'm like, oh, please.
Which is a bacteria, and antibiotics worked on it. Move on.
Yeah, that's why we haven't had it for 500 years, because we know how to cope with it. It's fine, okay? And all this testing thing has been fascinating as well. The idea that the more and more tests, I thought, actually, because before I was thinking, oh, that's terrible, all these, contaminated tests. But of course, they've got through that now. They've got to better tests. I'm going, oh, actually, this is quite cool, because the death rate is not going to go up. But
it's been going down significantly.
I know. So how does the death rate go down? The death rate goes down not just because there's not so much virus around, but also because they're no longer counting, as far as I know, all those other deaths, people falling off cliffs and having car accidents and brain hemorrhages and terminal illness before were being counted as COVID deaths. That was the instructions of WHO, World Health Organization. And now that that's out in the open, you can't get away with that so much. And so those deaths are not being counted. So that brings the numbers down, and the tests are going up. And there was a fantastic article that I found from Beda Stadler, I'll put the link below, former director of the Institute of Immunology at the University of Bern, biologist and professor emeritus. And he just said this whole lockdown idea is just a bad joke. Don't do that to people who aren't sick. The term silent carriers is rubbish. He says you can't be sick without symptoms of this, and you can't spread the virus either. He just had lots and lots of very sensible points. And he also said there were a couple of reasons why things might be positive tested when you don't seem to have any symptoms. First of all, this COVID is very similar to SARS-1, about 70% similar to SARS-1, which came out in 2002, which means many of us may already be immune to it. We might have all had contact with COVID and we're immune to it because our body knows what to do. Don't underestimate your immunity, your own body, as to how it can cope with these things. The second thing he said was that sometimes you have, like a virus arrives and the body goes, virus, attack, right? The white blood cells get stuck in there and they eat it or attack it till it's all gone. And so he said it's possible that some of these tests are picking up on the virus debris, the dead cells that have already gone, and you're not infected, and therefore you are not infectious either. So all these people that are coming out with positive tests, it drops the death rate. CDC is now saying that they don't even think it's possible this was even a pandemic. Fancy.
Exactly.
It kills so few people in comparison percentage-wise.
Exactly.
And that most of us might be immune to it already. So that is an opinion that's not on its own. We've found several of these opinions that are like that, of very high-profile people that are interested in studying and practicing in immunology. So don't assume that what the media gives you is going to be the be-all and end-all of expert opinions.
Especially if it's that idiot Fauci. No, don't think falling death numbers is going to, don't get condescending, with that. We have to look at, they're still very, very dangerous, and we don't want to get, oh God, he's such a lying sack of shit.
Why don't we, they need to, I think Trump pulling him up into the spotlight is brilliant, because now people can start to see this guy, he doesn't really know what he's talking about, or he's being paid to say something that doesn't match anybody else's. And more and more people are waking up to that. And we would not have known him otherwise. He is deeply involved in the vaccine industry. There was another thing that came out, I don't know where the link is, I'm just remembering it now, about Trump giving millions of dollars to Gavi, G-A-V-I, which is a vaccine company and is also funded by Gates. But that was, we found it was dated in February. And lots has happened since then. And they said it was all Trump that did it, but it wasn't. It was mostly Congress. So lots has happened since then. Don't panic about it. But this guy Stadler was saying that vaccines may be helpful to people who are in the high risk area, which is the 0.6 to 2.6% of people. Very, very small amount of people that were over 65 that have very low immunity. A vaccine might be useful to them, but not to anybody else. Don't need it.
There's also stuff coming out about masks. And basically, it's taking a healthy people who are asymptomatic, so they're not infectious. It's very rare that somebody could be infectious if they're asymptomatic. And putting masks on them is insane. And they're trying to sell it as the new normal. I was sent an article recently from the Washington Post magazine. Mm-hmm. And it's talking about how dogs are reacting to these masks. Oh, yeah. What one thing says, when, quote, when faces disappear, dogs get upset. Suddenly it's mysterious, and mystery is bad. She was talking about how she approached a dog in a very friendly way, and it tried to bite her. And then at the end of the story, he's talking about the new normal, and this is how dogs are, and unlike their wild relatives, the wolves, they need to read faces, and if they can't see faces, they don't know where you're at. Of course, this can all be applied to humans as well. Yeah. But at the very end, she goes and visits a friend, and it's just like, went to my friend's house. Of course, we kept our masks on and stayed 6 feet apart. And I went to greet her dog, and the dog was just really friendly with me. And her friend said, yeah, she doesn't mind masks anymore, the dog. She even kisses me through mine.
Oh.
This is the new normal, and we're all getting used to it.
Oh, no, we're not. Oh, isn't it horrifying?
Oh, sorry. Oh, isn't it? It's just like, it's like it's put out as this cute little story, but it's also like people can't read each other, and there's all this anger, and we're not adjusting to it.
I've been, talking to different people about masks, and the first thing I point out is, you realize you're limiting your oxygen going in. This is going to be damaging for your health. And most of them are like, oh, yeah, I guess so, yeah. They do get that. And there was a waitress I was talking to last night, and she was worried because we had a single positive case that happened 2 doors down from her, where they are in their suburb. And so all the employees got sent home to go quarantine. And so that's why they were wearing them. I said, there's nobody here. It's okay. It doesn't survive outside the body for more than a few hours. That was last week. It's okay. And she goes, oh, great. Well, and she was like the head waitress. She said, I think I'll get everyone to take them off tomorrow because people can't read us. You know, they're all Japanese waitresses and waiters, and people can't read their faces. It's a major part of the communication. You know, you have no idea how much, well, you do now that you've had the masks, how much we rely upon the visual as part of the communication. Is somebody smiling at you or not? Can you see it through their eyes? Not always. And if they're trying to tell you something with an accent that you're not completely familiar with, can you truly understand what they're trying to say to you? So it's not just the oxygen thing, it's a communication thing between us as well, which is really important right now. If we're getting so aggressive and prejudging people and jumping to conclusions, you want the best communication with people as much as you can.
So what I ended up doing was looking in the mirror with my mask and going, okay, what do I have to do so that you can see that I'm smiling? You know, really had to, you know, because I just I want to be people to see me smile for that reason. Well, at any rate, it's exciting times, and the news is going to get even more exciting. Be ready for a whole lot of stuff to come out. A lot of people are going to go down.
Yeah, that's going to be good. We're waiting for it. Got our popcorn ready. And keep yourself, I'm not going to say stay safe. I'm not going to do that. But keep happy, you know, and keep focused on the direction we're going, which is cleaning up all this mess, which is so fantastic.
Lovely.
Bye for now.
That's all. Bye.